All right, let's look at the last set of problems on the sample test. So for this one, the table above shows the average amount of money freshmen spend in Commons 51 and Crossbones Cafe after their parents get the first cafeteria bill. And so first they want us to use a graphing calculator to create a scatter plot and then use the regression feature to find what would best fit that information. So on our calculator, remember we're going to go to statistics and go to edit, and it's a good idea to come up here and sit on top of list 1 and hit clear enter to clear that whole list. Do the same thing with list 2. So let's go ahead and put our data in from this problem. So once I have my data from the table that was given, all right, then I'm going to go to second y equals to plot those statistics. And I'm going to turn this first plot on and use a scatter plot for list 1 and list 2. Now, I can get my calculator to set the window for me by going to zoom and then down to number 9. And when I do that, then this is the graph of those points. And notice that that has an exponential shape instead of a logarithmic. That's an exponential decay. So I'm going to do an exponential regression. So I'm going to go to statistics, go to calculate, and scroll down past the logarithmic to the exponential. And then I'm going to tell it to use list 1 for x, list 2 for y, and to store that equation. So again, this is optional. Alpha trace is where I get that y1. And so when it creates the equation, it'll automatically type it into y1 for me. So now if I calculate, here is my exponential equation. So it's going to be 106.129 in for A and then 0.849 in for B. So this times this to the x. All right, also notice that your R value down here, this is your correlation. It's a negative 0.927. All right, so if we go back to the problem, to the things they asked us to create a scatter plot, which we did, and they asked us to create the equation. So we had to know that this was exponential from looking at our graph. And so we did our exponential regression and got our equation accurate to 3 decimal places. Then they asked us to graph the equation on the scatter plot. So if I go to y equals and I type in this equation, then it will graph that on my scatter plot, or I told mine to store the equation in y1, so it had it already. And then they asked us to use the equation to find out how much money they would spend at 3.5, so about 3.5 weeks. And so I'm going to take that same equation we had right there, and I'm going to put 3.5 in the place of x. Now this is dollars and cents, so I know to round to 2 decimal places. All right, then they asked, is this interpolation or extrapolation? Well, remember we said that if what they're asking is inside the data, so our x values were the weeks 1 to 6, 3.5 is inside that. So that would be interpolation. If it was a value larger than 6, then that would have been on the outside, that would have been extrapolation. All right, and then we said that we had already noted what our correlation was, that negative 0.927. So negative, of course, and the closer this is to -1, the stronger it is. So that's a strong negative because it is close to -1. All right, and then they ask us to use the intersect feature to find the value for which y is equal to 40. So I'm going to go back and go to y equals. I've already got my equation in y1, and then I can put my 40 in y2. So if I graph that, I'm looking for the intersection of the red line and the blue exponential. So I'm going to do second trace and choose intersect. And then remember, I'm basically going to hit enter 3 times. So it's automatically positioned itself on what I have in Y1, the blue exponential, and it's saying, do you want me to use this for the first curve? So hit enter to tell it yes. And then it'll jump to what I have in Y2. So that's my red equation here, and it's saying, do you want me to use this as the second curve? So hit enter for yes. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to get close to that point of intersection, and I'm going to choose that as my guess. So hit enter for yes. So again, I just hit enter 3 times, and it tells me my intersection to 3 decimal places would be 5.956. All right, and so that's where we're getting that point of intersection.